Mike Pence has arrived here at Leetonia High School. He pulled in, him and his motorcade, about 15 minutes ago. We are still awaiting his arrival here, though, onto the podium to speak to the group of people that have gathered here. By our estimates, by about 500 people have now gathered here at the Leetonia High School gym. They've just kind of been trickling in for about the last hour or so, but the place is not filled. We can certainly get a few more people in here, but there's a large crowd has now showed up. Now, earlier this evening, about 5:30 is when the program started. At that point, we started, well, let me see what's going on here. Oh, here he comes right now. Mike Pence just now walking right out onto the stage. You can see him in the corner there. He's walked in with his wife. He's now walking across the stage and getting ready to address the crowd of about 500 people here at Leetonia High School. Started pretty much right on time. We're just a couple of minutes after 6 o'clock. You can see him giving the thumbs up to the people off to his left, pointing to a couple of people he might know in the audience, and now going to get ready to step to the podium to address the people at Leetonia High School. That's the Leetonia High School marching band that you hear in the background. So Mike Pence now has entered the gymnasium here at Leetonia High School, and he is going to speak to a large group of Republicans. Columbiana County, very much a Republican county, so I think this should be a hometown crowd that will be greeting him here this evening. Mike Pence now stepping toward the microphone to address the people here at Leetonia High School.
Hello, Ohio!
27 First News, live in Leetonia.
It is so exciting to be in Leetonia. Go Bears! Thank you all for coming out tonight. It is great to be with all of you. Just a few short weeks, less than 5 weeks away, when we will elect the next great president of the United States of America, Donald Trump. I'm so grateful to be with you today. My wife Karen and our daughter is with us, and it's wonderful to be back in Ohio. I have to tell you, it was just a couple months ago. I got that phone call late at night. I heard that familiar voice on the other end of the phone, and he said, "Mike, it's going to be great." And it has been. It's been unbelievable. And I got to tell you, when he asked me to join this team, I said yes in a heartbeat. Because you have nominated a man for president who never quits, who never backs down. He is a fighter. He is a winner. And until very recently, it seemed like he was out there fighting all on his own. But now this movement is coming together. This party is coming together. Ohio is coming together. And we're going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States. And how about that debate last Monday night? Was that a great night? We all got our favorite moments in that debate. My favorite one. My favorite one was this, where Donald Trump said, I told him this morning on the phone, where he said, "All talk, no action, sounds good, never gonna happen." You know, that's the thing about Donald Trump. He's a genuine article. Speaks straight from his mind, straight from his heart. And he's a doer. He's a doer in a game usually reserved for talkers. And when he does his talking, he doesn't go tiptoeing around all those rules of political correctness that the media puts in the way of men and women that want to make a difference. He speaks from his heart and his mind, and the American people hear him loud and clear, and they're going to send him straight to the White House. You know, Donald Trump just embodies the spirit of America. He truly does. Strong, freedom-loving, independent, optimistic, and willing to fight for what he believes in, and he's going to fight for the people of Ohio and the people of this country every day. You know, it's an incredible contrast from the other side, if you think about it. At the very moment that America is crying out for something new and different, the other party has nominated someone with the most predictable of names and the most stale agenda. It really is extraordinary. I mean, you know, the media is so busy parsing Every word that Donald Trump says, for the last 30 minutes, it's like they don't have time to talk about what the Clintons have been up to for the last 30 years. But we're going to correct that tonight. I mean, the first thing you got to do with the Clintons is recognize that when you think about Bill and Hillary Clinton, they basically perfected the politics of personal profit. I mean, think about it. Think about it. The Clintons have earned in excess of $125 million in speech income since Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton left the White House. In her campaign, Hillary Clinton has received $100 million in contributions from Wall Street and hedge funds. She received $4.1 million in speaking fees from financial firms that were actually lobbying the federal government. And 22 groups actually paid speaking fees to her husband, the former president, while they were lobbying the State Department when she was Secretary of State. It's really incredible to think about. You got to follow the money with these people. And the money flowing into speaking fees and the money flowing into the Clinton Foundation, all at the same time that she was Secretary of State leading our diplomatic efforts. For all the world, it looks like the kind of pay-to-play politics that the American people are sick and tired of. And it's exactly the kind of pay-to-play politics that's going to end the day that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States. We've got to have the highest standards of integrity and the highest office in the land, and I will promise you, the day that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, the rigged system for the favored few from Wall Street to Washington, D.C. will come to an end. His only special interest will be you, the American people, and he will fight for you every single day. You know, it really is amazing. People ask me all the time, what is it about Donald Trump? You know, I like to say, Donald Trump just gets it. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm from south of Highway 40 over in Indiana. We speak pretty plainly. And I just say, he just gets it. And Donald Trump, he's never forgotten the men and women who built this country. People that work with their hands, people that grow our food, who build our roads and bridges, who tend to our sick, who teach our kids. And Donald Trump, I promise you, because I see it every single day, Donald Trump will never forget or fail to support the men and women who serve in law enforcement at every level across this nation. You know, we're so proud of the fact that Donald Trump has been endorsed by the largest police officers union in the United States of America, 330,000 strong. The FOP has endorsed Donald Trump. You know, as we all gather here today, we're surrounded by an awful lot of men and women who put on the uniform every day. Would you just take a minute to show how much we appreciate the job that they do? Thank you all for that. You know, Donald Trump and I, despite what the other side says often, in the wake of tragedies, Donald Trump and I, we don't see law enforcement in this country as a force for division or for racism. We see law enforcement as a force for good. The people of law enforcement in this country are the best of us. The men and women who wear the uniform, be they white or African American or Asian or Latino or Hispanic, put their lives on the line for us each and every day. And I promise you, when he becomes the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America, President Donald Trump will stand with those who serve in law enforcement at every level. He will make sure they have the resources they need to protect our families, restore law and order, and go home safe to theirs. You know, despite the avalanche of insults coming out of our opponents, this election really is about just a few basic things. It's about security, it's about prosperity, and it's about the Supreme Court of the United States and our Constitution. First and foremost, it's about the security of this nation. Providing for the common defense is the first obligation under our Constitution. The President of the United States' first order of business is to stand strong for America on the world stage. But 7.5 years of the leadership of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton on the world stage has weakened America's place in the world, and it's emboldened our enemies. It's extraordinary to think about it. Terrorist attacks at home and abroad. If you took a picture of a map of the wider Middle East when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton took over our nation's foreign policy, and you looked at that map today, it wouldn't look like the same part of the world. An emboldened Russia, an increasingly aggressive China, provocations by North Korea, and a deal with the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world, Iran. It is a record on the foreign stage that has weakened America's place in the world, and in a very real sense, it seems sometimes like the world is just spinning apart. And Hillary Clinton's record on foreign affairs needs to be remembered as she seeks the highest office in the land. It was Hillary Clinton who supported Barack Obama's decision to withdraw all U.S. forces from Iraq, leaving a vacuum in which the terrorist organization ISIS was able to literally rise up out of the desert and overrun vast areas that had been hard won by the American soldier in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Now we've got soldiers on the ground there trying to win back what was won by the time Barack Obama became president of the United States and was squandered because of the decisions of his Secretary of State and this president. Before I push on, I will tell you, when I served in the Congress, I traveled downrange to visit our soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. Every year for 10 years in a row, I have stood quietly by the gravesides of those that have fallen in defending our freedom. Would those who've worn the uniform of the United States, would you just raise your hand if you can, or stand if you're sitting if you can, and just let us thank you one more time. Thank you for your service. We couldn't be more grateful. It was Hillary Clinton who actually instigated that disastrous agreement with the radical mullahs in Iran. It's extraordinary to think. Iran, the leading state sponsor of terror, received $150 billion, and we received a handshake. And all we secured for it was a delay in the nuclear ambitions of that radical regime. And the worst of it was that on the very day that the Iranians released 4 American hostages, this administration delivered $400 million in cash on a pallet. You know, that violated decades of U.S. policy. We don't pay ransom to terrorists or terrorist-sponsoring states, and I will promise you, when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, we won't be paying ransom to terrorist-sponsoring states. They'll be paying a price if they threaten or detain American citizens or threaten our freedom or security. And lastly, it was Hillary Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton who left Americans in harm's way in Benghazi. And remember, that movie is entitled 13 Hours, but it wasn't that she sent help after 13 hours. The State Department under Hillary Clinton never sent help. And shortly after that, she and this administration actually said that the cause of that terrorist attack was a video that had been produced by some group in Florida. When all the while, as Congress found out, they They knew the night of the attack that it was an Al-Qaeda-style terrorist attack. When she was questioned about that before a committee in the Senate, Hillary Clinton actually said, "What difference at this point does it make?" Well, men and women, I will tell you, as the proud father of a United States Marine, I can say this. Anyone who said that, anyone who did that, should be disqualified from ever serving as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. We do not leave Americans in harm's way. And Donald Trump will provide the leadership to stand with our soldiers and make sure that they have the resources they need to protect all that is our own on the foreign stage. It really is extraordinary. In the wake of recent terrorist attacks at home and abroad, this administration actually said that we're in a narrative fight. Did you see that? That we're in the midst of a narrative war. And Hillary Clinton herself actually accused my running mate of giving, quote, comfort to our adversaries because of his strong talk about American security. Well, the American people know strength does not give comfort to the adversaries of the United States of America. Weakness does. And that all changes the day that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America. Donald Trump will lead on the world stage with American strength. We will rebuild our military. We will stand with our allies. We will stand up to our enemies, and we will hunt down and destroy ISIS and any organization that threatens our people. We cannot have 4 more years apologizing to our enemies and abandoning our friends. Donald Trump will lead on the world stage with American strength. That's probably why 160 retired admirals and generals, including 17 Medal of Honor winners, have endorsed Donald Trump to be the next Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces of this nation. So it's about security. It's about her record on the world stage and the need for American strength, but it's also about prosperity. You know, the other side likes to tell us that things are really good in America. You hear those sunny speeches. Came from their convention, and they still talk about good times. But people here in Ohio, people in Indiana, people across this country know that it's a very challenging time in the life of this economy. I mean, we're in the midst of the weakest economic recovery since the Great Depression. We're the lowest labor participation rate since the 1970s. And millions more Americans today are living in poverty than the day that Barack Obama became president of the United States. Nevertheless, Hillary Clinton's plan, more of the same. More tax increases, more government, more regulation, more Obamacare, and more of the war on American energy that is stifling jobs and opportunities across this country. It really is incredible. In fact, it was about a week ago that while she's already announced $1 trillion in tax increases, Hillary Clinton actually announced an additional tax increase, raising the inheritance tax in this country to 65%. You know, they tell us this economy is the best that we can do. People of Ohio know different, don't you? It's nowhere near the best that we can do. It's just the best they can do. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to get this economy moving for all the people of Ohio and all the people of the United States of America. Because Donald Trump has a plan. Donald Trump has a plan to get this economy moving again, doing what's always worked in the past. We're going to cut taxes across the board for working families, small businesses, and family farms. We're not going to raise death taxes. We're going to get rid of death taxes entirely, and we're going to lower business taxes so companies in Ohio can keep jobs in Ohio and create opportunities in this country and not ship them overseas. And Donald Trump on day one is going to do what we did in the Hoosier State. He's going to sign a moratorium on any new federal regulation, and he's going to repeal every single Obama executive order that is stifling jobs and opportunities in this country. And Donald Trump, when he becomes negotiator in chief, that's not in the Constitution yet. When Donald Trump becomes negotiator in chief, we're going to have free trade. But it's going to be trade that works for the American worker. We're going to renegotiate NAFTA. We're going to make sure that American jobs come first. We're going to get out of TPP, and we're going to make sure that when we trade, we hold our trading partners accountable for the undertakings that they make. And lastly, on the first day of the Trump-Pence administration, I promise you, we're going to end the war on coal once and for all. We're going to have an all-of-the-above energy strategy. We're going to release all of the power of the American energy economy and get this economy rolling again. Maybe that's why 305 economists from universities, think tanks, and businesses across the country issued a statement opposing Hillary Clinton's economic agenda and supporting Donald Trump. Now, Hillary Clinton said the other day that those who predict the more than 20 million jobs will be created when we put these principles into practice. She said that the predictions for an economic recovery were wildly unrealistic. Those were her words. Well, Donald Trump and I know the only thing wildly unrealistic is electing the same people from the same party with the same bad ideas and expecting a different result. Donald Trump and I know that conservative principles work every time you put them into practice. It worked back in the 1980s. Less taxes, less regulation, more American energy. More freedom always results in more prosperity. It worked in the years of Ronald Reagan. It worked in the years of President John F. Kennedy. And it's going to work when President Donald Trump does the same from the White House. You know, it really is extraordinary. For years, we've had fundamental problems in this country that have been talked to death by people in Washington, D.C. But they never seem to get solved. And sometimes they seem to even get worse. We've seen entire stretches of the country that have been written off by bad economic policies coming out of both political parties. We see relentless mandates from the executive branch. It seems like there's no aspect of our lives too small for this present administration to supervise, no provision of the Constitution too large for them to ignore. Which brings me to my last point, which is that as this election approaches, men and women of Ohio, I think we need to recognize that while we're electing a president for the next 4 years, that president will likely set the course and direction of the Supreme Court of the United States for the next 40 years. And we need to think very hard about that. The next president won't just fill one vacancy on the Supreme Court, but upwards to 2 and maybe 3 on the Supreme Court, impacting the direction of that court for a generation. I mean, Donald Trump and I are committed to appointing justices to the Supreme Court and all of our federal judiciary that will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and uphold all the liberties enshrined there. Elect Hillary Clinton, you better get used to being subject to unelected judges using unaccountable power to make unconstitutional decisions, to not uphold the law and interpret the law, but rather to legislate from the bench. It is the liberal approach. So let me just say to all of you, a word to your neighbors and your friends. For the sake of the rule of law, you cherish the sanctity of life. For the sake of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, for the sake of all of our God-given liberties, we must ensure here and now in the great state of Ohio that the next president making appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States will be President Donald Trump. You know, as I close, I think it's important that we leave a gathering like this with a little bit of a burden on our hearts. I hope you didn't just come here tonight to hear a speech and maybe shake a hand, although I'm glad to deliver it, and I hope to shake as many hands as I can before we leave. And thank you for your support. I mean, I'm always very moved when I see a crowd like this come out. I know I'm kind of a B-list Republican celebrity. You know, I'm not the main event. So thank you for coming out for the Pence family tonight. And God bless you for it. It means a lot. It means a lot. Really means a lot. We're very humbled. We're very humbled by your support. But let me say to you, you know, it's important that we leave a place like this and we go tell somebody. I mean, you here in Ohio are always used to this state playing an outsized role in our nation's destiny, aren't you? I mean, the number of presidents from this state, the number of times that the people of Ohio have been the deciding factor in presidential elections. It's too often to count. So, but I want to tell all of you that as you leave here tonight, I hope as we lay out what this choice is, about having the highest standards of integrity in the highest office in the land once again, about having leadership that strengthens America's place in the world, rebuilds our military, restores our economy, and upholds our Constitution. I hope you lay that out to your neighbors and friends, but I hope you also tell them one more thing. And that is that in these days where there seem to be so many things that divide us, it seems like many in the national media, when they're not busy carrying water for our opponent, they're busy talking about separating Americans one from another. Every single issue seems to be divided, you know, shirts and skins, for and against. But I want you to go tell your neighbors and friends that Donald Trump and I believe that there will always be more that unites us in these United States than will ever divide the people of this great nation. There will always be. And it really has everything to do with faith. Faith in God and faith in the American people. I mean, Donald Trump, I always love to tell people, Donald Trump and I have a lot in common, if you think about it. I mean, his grandfather came to this country. My grandfather came to this country. His dad was a self-made man who built a business in Queens with his bare hands. My dad built a small gas station business in a small town in southern Indiana. That kid from Queens went to Manhattan Island to build skyscrapers to the heavens. I followed a calling into public service. I mean, Donald Trump and I were both raised to believe that to whom much is given, much will be required. And the truth is, I mean, other than a whole lot of zeros, Donald Trump and I have a lot in common. I mean, a lot. A lot of zeros. And that's this. The zeros went right out the door. But it's a belief in the American dream. It's a belief that what these young people need to know in their heart of hearts. And would you give these bears a round of applause for being out tonight? Gosh, I so admire that. Thank you, guys. What they need to know, what Donald Trump and I know is that the American dream isn't a bumper sticker. It's real. It's the reality in this country that anybody can be anybody. If you can dream it, if you work hard, you get a good education, you stay away from the things that'll derail your dreams. The sky's the limit. I mean, I'm that guy. You know, I had walking around on 31st Street, a cornfield in my backyard growing up. I just dreamed someday of maybe representing my hometown in our nation's capital. I mean, that Irish immigrant grandfather, I was named after him. And I can't even imagine what he'd be thinking today, other than he'd be thinking he was right. He'd be thinking when he had the courage, when he was my own son's age, to get on that boat and come across the Atlantic to the land of the free and the home of the brave, that it was all real, and it is. And I want you to go tell your neighbors and friends that Donald Trump, there's a choice in this election. It's a dramatic choice. But also tell them that Donald Trump will be a president who fights every day to revive the American dream for every American, regardless of race or creed or color or background or gender. And we're not going to stop until we revive the American dream for all the people of this country. And lastly, what unites us is what has always united the American people. It's not just faith in the American dream, but it's faith in Him who has ever inspired it. And I really do say to each one of you that if you're inclined to do what Karen and I and our family does from time to time, to bow the head or bend the knee, it'd be a good time to do it. Because I'll always believe what has been true for millennia is still true today. What the Pilgrims believed and what Americans who have seen much harder times than we experience today by a lot. That if His people who are called by His name will humble themselves and pray, that as He's always done before, He'll hear from heaven and He will heal our land again. Because this is now and will ever be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So Ohio, we got a choice to make. And time's a-wasting. I need you to get out there and tell somebody. I need you to find a neighbor and a friend, either over a backyard fence. Stop outside the drugstore. Stop somebody at worship or at work. Get on the phone, send an email. Tweet if you must. But go tell somebody about the choice. And tell them this, the choice could not be more clear. You know, sometimes in my lifetime, elections have been a choice between one candidate that'll take us this far up and another one will just take us this far up, right? This isn't like that. I mean, this is a choice between whether we're going to continue to go downhill toward a weaker America at home and abroad, a weaker American economy, walking away from our most cherished constitutional traditions and highest ideals in public life, or whether we're going to stop, plant our feet, and turn around and march back up the hill to a stronger, more prosperous, freer America and a boundless American future. And I know the choice Ohio's going to make. I know the choice Ohio's going to make. But it's only going to happen if we all get out there and tell our neighbors and our friends. So I'm going to give it to you one more time, just in case you're taking notes. Okay? I mean, this really is another time for choosing. So here we go. If you want a president who will protect this nation, rebuild our military, stand by our allies, stand up to our enemies, and hunt down and destroy ISIS and any other terrorist organization that threatens us. If you want a president who will restore law and order to the cities and towns of this country, stand with our law enforcement and give them the resources and the training and the tools they need to protect our families and go home safe to theirs. If you want a president who will cut taxes, grow the economy, squeeze every nickel out of that bloated federal bureaucracy, and repeal Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel. If you want a president who will uphold the rule of law for the citizens of this nation, who will build a wall and end illegal immigration in this nation once and for all. And if you want a president who will upend the status quo in Washington, D.C., and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, then I want to tell you, Ohio, that man is ready. This team is ready. This movement is ready. Let's go make sure Ohio is ready, and we will make Donald Trump the 45th President of the United States of America, and we will make America great again. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Let's go get it done.